Hey everybody, I'm Arashimini. Let's see, everything's on. Okay. Hey Stack Farmers, I'm Arashimini. In this module, we're going to talk about microgreen system design. This module can be digested separately. I suggest going in sequence and then going back and checking what you are most interested in or what you feel you need to learn the most about. But as far as system design goes, we're going to talk about three things: 1020 flats, trays, and lights. All right. This is a simple case of the stack farm process platform, and we're going to talk about how to design a microgreen farm for your space. So first things first, you got to understand the 1020 flat and why everything I'm going to talk about later coincides or comes back to that ultimately. And it's very simple. 1020 flats, you've all seen them. They're these little 1-2 inch high, approximately 20 inch by 10 inch flats, right? And they come with holes on the bottom, mesh on the bottom, no holes in the bottom, 2 inches high, 2 inches low, and different quality, different rigidities. You can get them anywhere, and the really nice thing about them is they support my favorite media, and the one you should be using, which is paper towels. Now, I'm experimenting with Fresh Towel ink. I think this is 300 sheets for $16. The link is in the e-store, affiliate store for you. But the nice thing about them, and the reason I use 1020 flats, is that they fit perfectly. So they pull out like so. They break very easily. And they line up very well. So one reason I like this brand over others is because it hangs off of the edge. It's longer. 2 sheets are longer than 1 tray. And this little piece right here is the secret to our success. This lets you keep the tray bottom out of water, because it's very hard to just get enough water to moisturize or moisten or saturate the media without oversaturating the seeds, which are just a millimeter above them. And the problem there is if there's a layer of water above the medium, and so the seeds are sitting submerged or even half submerged, and some of these seeds are very small, so half submersion is a very thin layer of water, very hard to avoid. But that water tension keeps the plant from growing up towards the light as fast as possible. And so it actually delays and makes your canopy uneven, and it affects your harvesting and your yield. And it can lead to decay if your seeding density is too high, and there's seeds that never make it effectively for various reasons. They clump together and they can't escape the surface tension of the water. So we use these 1020 flats because they fit the plentiful and cheap media that microgreen farmers you all will be using for forever, and they're very modular, and they fit into the trays. Now let's just draw a generic tray and talk about how the 1020 flat should fit in. So let's just draw a tray that can fit one 1020 flat. And it's just sitting in there like that, right? And then you have a media in there, and then you have your seeds on top of that, right? The water level, just like I was saying, is so sensitive. The yield is so sensitive to the water level, and there's so little room for error to get just the right water level. And if your tray is not perfect, your tower, your shelving is not perfectly level, then it's even harder because water will pool in one end, right? And you'll get something like that, exaggerated obviously, but then the plants on this side are going to drown and you're going to get uneven growth. So the reason these 1020s are so great is that if I have my tray, let's keep the color separate, I can put, I can nest these 1020s. So I can get a cheap mesh bottom. These are to show you the slits in the bottom. 1020 flat. And then I can put my 1020 flat with my microgreen media in there, and then I can bring it out and over and let it hang below, like 2 of these sheets do. So then when I put it in, I nest my 1020 into a mesh bottom 1020. So this is a 1020 with holes, just a few slits compared to a mesh bottom. And then when it sits in there, excuse me, the exact trays I'm using are nice because they fit very perfectly. And so I'm actually using a 1-inch here and a 2-inch here. And what I get is this gap between the two 1020s and my media. And I'll show you this in how to plant, but visually we'll go step by step. But just so you know, the whole system is designed around this principle. Nesting 1020 so there's a gap between the bottom, and laying your microgreen media, your paper towel, out and over. And so it's important to get the right paper towel because you need to be able to lift that paper towel out of all of the trays and put it on a cutting board to harvest. We'll show it in another module. So this is why we use the 1020s. And you'll see the effect, the yield comes from this 1020 configuration. Now, another reason we use 1020s is because they fit in many standard hydroponic trays. So there are 3 trays we can really be using right now for an indoor farm, most likely, or that are supported by our R&D and validated in field tests. That is the 2x2, the 1x2, and the 2x4. These are hydroponic trays from the hydroponic industry. Hydroponic. This is from the gardening industry. Jeez Louise. This is made for putting this one is made so you put on a countertop and you put your 1020s in there, and then you fill them with soil, and it's made for like a reservoir catch basin for 1020s that you might be watering on a countertop in the garden, wherever, and this will just catch your excess. So it's not made for hydroponic growth. These two, this is a 2x2, this is a 1x2, this is a 2x4. These two are made from the hydroponic industry, and they're made for growing cannabis, but they fit 1x2 or 1x4, excuse me. Oh my gosh. One by 4. So they fit the trays almost perfectly. So this one holds 2, roughly. This one holds 4. And then the nice thing about these ones, they are more expensive, but if you look at them from the side, first off, they're made to hold their own weight. Their bottom is this has these ridges, and they have room for fittings. So they give you more flexibility, they're stronger, they're more durable, They are a little bit more heavy, they are a little bit more expensive, but they are the ideal choice. However, the 2x2 version of these hydroponic trays is 2 or 3 times the price as this one, and is overkill for, it's like really high. It's 6 inches high. This is only 2 inches high. So you want to figure out, how much do I want to grow? What's the space I'm growing in? That's really your question, right? And this will tell you, that'll tell you what kind of trays you want to install. Am I growing in the corner of a room? How much volume do I want to get ready for, right? If I'm using these, which gets me to our next thing, is lights. These 4-foot wide trays need 4-foot wide lights, right? Foot wide, and then this, you only have 2 feet wide. So you have to choose your lighting differently. On this side, these LED panels are fantastic. They are 20 to 25 watts, $20 to $30 each, and they cover, one of them can cover a microgreen tray, as I'm doing now, at a higher distance. 2 can saturate a 1020 flat with enough light to grow almost anything so far, anything leafy green. So they fit really well. And the links are in the eStore affiliate store for what I'm talking about. It is this lighting panel. This is brand new lighting technology, as in this form factor is the cheapest, lightest, skinniest, easiest to use that has ever existed at mass, in the mass market. So you can go on Amazon right now and buy these for $20 each, and one can fit very nicely over a tray for microgreen, but then I can also double up a little higher off and grow double my light intensity, or even quadruple it. So for microgreens, I'm testing right now. It's like 20 watts per. Right now, these for the 2x2 shelving are 20 watts, and each, if you're looking at it from the side, I have 2 lights, I have my tray, I have 2 flats underneath that. Right? So I'm getting roughly 20 watts over 20 inches by 10 inches squared. Oops. So that is 20 watts over 200 inch squared, which equals 22 watts per 20 square inch, which equals 1 watt per 10 inches squared. And you want, I think, 2 to 3 for little leafy like lettuces, 1 to 2 for microgreens. And the question is, ultimately though, how do these lights perform at this height on these seeds with this fertilizer, right? Because the more efficient LEDs get, the less wattage they need to put out the same amount of photons, which is ultimately what you need to measure at the very scientific level in the horticulture space. For us, it's easier to just do watts per square foot or watts per inch. And you're looking for 10 to 15 watts per square foot for microgreens. That's a good rule of thumb, all right? But, you gotta know that, so in this system right here, looking at one level, right? That's the shelving itself. We have the tray, and then we have the lights, let's just say. This distance is very important, the height, because intensity of a light source increases to the square of its distance. So intensity is proportional to distance squared. So if I drop the space in half, my intensity more than doubles, and so on. If I increase it by twice, it goes the intensity decreases by a factor of 4, right? So you can get away with cheaper, smaller light sources closer to your canopy, but it doesn't do heat and so on and so forth. So use our design, and that's all taken into account. Okay, and then the larger systems, you're using 4 foot wide, 1 by 4, 4 feet, 1 feet. You can use T5s or T8s. You can use shop lights overhead. For microgreens, so let's see, a 4 foot T5 or a 4 foot T5 and T8 are fluorescent lights. So T5s are the skinnier fluorescent lights, T8s are the larger fluorescent lights. So T8 has, I believe, 24 to 36 watts. A 4 foot T8, T5, which are the smaller ones, so smaller, bigger, is 36 to I think 56 watts, depending on what you buy. So this is common for both. These are more expensive, these are cheaper. T8s are like your traditional shop lights, T5s are like in commercial spaces. They're brighter, they last a little longer. They're more expensive though. And the fixtures are more expensive because they're more commercial typically. So you can use a T8 bulb over a 4 foot tray, no problem. If you had 2 of them, you're 2 T8s. So 2 T8s equals 36 watts times 2 equals 72 watts divided by 4 square feet equals 18 watts per square foot. That's awesome. That's plenty. So you got to move them up a little bit so you don't burn your plants. T5s are overkill for microgreens. Let's assume that's the case. And if you're using T8s, and we're looking from the side, and this is your tray, and your T8s, if this is a 4 foot tray, 2 bulbs is going to be enough, and you're going to probably want 10 to 15 inches clearance, 12 to 18 inches clearance. If you're doing, let's get to the 2x4. 2x4 tray is just double that. 2 fixtures. 2 4 foot, 2 bulb T8 fixtures will be enough. You hang them, keep this clearance, and you'll be fine. Right? And you can arrange your trays like this, or like this. It's up to you. As an aside, the shelving you use needs to provide this clearance, needs to hold the water weight, and needs to be vented or slit, or what's the term? You don't want flat, like, the lights are going to be putting off heat. You want that heat to dissipate. So anything with a grid system, wire meshing, vented plastic trays. I use these plastic trays because they're like very quick to set up. You can put 2 of them and lay a 2x4 if you wanted to. You can make your own out of wood. It's totally simple, but it just needs to be level and sturdy enough that you can bump into it and it's not going to fall apart, obviously. All right. So Some, or my, I will put several shelving systems in the affiliate store that you could choose what you wanted to do aesthetically, price wise, location, so on. So, all right, so that is microgreen system design. Let's do a quick overview then, and bring it all together. So if I'm designing by 2x2s, okay, I want the shelving I like to use as 4 levels. It's 72 inches high. It is 36 inches wide, and then get the, if you're starting out, get the 18-inch deep. You put your lights and shelves per the instructions, and you can, from a top-down view, you can put these next to each other and expand out if that's your wall. Now, you want to leave some room for air to circulate around your trays. So if you're looking down from there, this is your room, and your door opens like that. Putting it even up against in the corner of the wall is a bad idea. You want to remove it a little bit so that air can move around there, but at the very least you want to be able to access both sides. So bring it off of one wall, the distance of one tray or one tower, and then you can add towers like that. And then if you really want to expand, leave another room. So if this is 36 inches or 3 feet, this is 36, that's 36, that's 36. And then you can come out another 36, and you can start more towers here. Right? And then you can double up on the other side, on the other aisle. Boy, oh boy, come on. Right? That's how you would design effectively, efficiently, and for large, good workflows. You can come in, people can come in one side, harvest, and come out the other for processing. You don't get bumping. It's a good use of space. I've laid out a bunch of different versions. The cool thing about the 1x4s is that you can wall mount them more easily. So if you're looking at a farm with the door, right, you can wall mount them. You could maybe put them above something like this. You can use wall mounted shelving. Whatever fits is fine. Whatever's easy to install for you. And if you wanted to, you could add more systems like that. I haven't modeled a new pricing, so this might be slightly cheaper than putting 2x2s, but the trays, the 2x2 trays are the cheapest trays. And it's hard to say. The lighting and the cost and everything is different, but. And then the big boys, the 2x4s, you can use the same 36-inch by 24-inch, so it's slightly deeper, and then you can put your tray and hang it over the edge. So if you look at it from the side, that's 1 level, 2 level, right? And if this is your 2x4 tray, it hangs off the sides like that. Reservoir. And then your lights would go and hang this way. Now, you might think that looks funny, and it kind of does, but it's the cheapest way to do it using these plastic trays. If you want to build custom trays and support it, that's fine. You could do extra work, but I'm not in the business of doing extra work. And then from the top, if I have a farm like that, and I'm just drawing the trays here, right? So I'd have towers here. Oops. always want aisles to be easily navigatable with whatever rolling carts you're going to need to harvest everything. So the bigger your farm, the bigger your aisles. All right. So that is microgreen system design. See you in the next module.